Guys, what's going on? Guys, before I get into the video, I want you guys to smash the like button. I want you to smash the like button on this video. You're going to enjoy this video. Really smash the like button. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel, guys. Make sure all of you that are watching my videos subscribe to my channel, because it really helps the algorithm. The more of you that subscribe to my channel, the more of you that press the subscribe button that are boxing fans that like my type of content, YouTube will push my videos out to people like yourself. So please smash the like button and hit the subscribe button. If you subscribe, I'll reap the rewards and benefits from it. So thank you very much. Guys, very interesting news. I've just made a video, and you probably saw it uploaded a couple of hours before this one, about the fact that Eddie Hearn's trying to block the Ramirez Bivol fight, and he wants the Buatsi fight. Well, Eddie Hearn has now casted doubts on the Canelo Alvarez and Dmitry Bivol rematch and said that it has obstacles. And this isn't going to hit well with some of you Canelo fans, because you're not going to like the way Eddie Hearn's moving here. And also, you as Canelo fans, I know some of you are very, although you love Canelo, you're also very harsh on Canelo. You also want Canelo to beat Bivol, because a lot of you were hurt and a lot of you were upset by the fact that Canelo lost to Bivol. So this news is not going to rub you up the right way. But let me tell you what Eddie Hearn has said, and then I'll give you my take. Eddie Hearn said, the fact is, to fight Canelo Alvarez, Bivol might have to fight Joshua Buatsi and Zordo Ramirez. Okay, we know he has to fight Zordo Ramirez. Why does he have to fight Joshua Buatsi? Why? Is Joshua Buatsi not a mandatory? Zordo Ramirez is mandatory. So where is Joshua Buatsi coming out from? That's fight not a definite, because we can't just wait until May. It's impossible if there's so much risk in those fights. Hopefully, Canelo and Gigi have a tremendous fight in September, and if Canelo wins, he'll go look for a rematch. But Bivol isn't going to be fighting. Bivol is going to be fighting too. Also, don't forget, Bivol also wants the Beterbiev fight. So now he's casted that Bivol also wants to fight Beterbiev. It doesn't make sense to me. Canelo is the biggest star in the sport, right? If Canelo wants a fight, that fight's going to happen, right? Eddie's saying there's either two things here, right? Eddie is putting obstacles in the way of Canelo, but that's not going to happen, because Eddie knows that Canelo is the king, and he knows that Canelo will make the decisions, unless Eddie wants to lose Canelo and harm his relationship, which I'm obviously not going to, because Eddie knows how important Canelo would be for his business. Or it may be a strategical way for Canelo to get out the Bivol fight, because they think it's a dangerous fight. And hence why I think this is not a good look for Canelo Alvarez. Because if Canelo Alvarez, no one's going to buy the fact that there's obstacles in the way, because we know that he's got to fight Zordo Ramirez, but that fight's going to happen in October. May's a long way away from October. Yeah? Joshua Buatsi fight is not a bigger fight than Canelo Alvarez rematch. It's just not. So when Eddie Hearn says that he's got to fight Joshua Buatsi and Ramirez, that's nonsense, because Ramirez is a mandatory. Where does Joshua Buatsi come into it? Joshua Buatsi is no mandatory. He can't be, because if Dmitry Bivol doesn't have 2-3 belts, he has one belt. He has the WBA belt. So where does Joshua Buatsi, when Eddie Hearn says that he's got to fight Joshua Buatsi and Ramirez, I don't quite understand that. He's got to fight Ramirez because Ramirez is his mandatory. He doesn't have to fight. What's his name, Buatsi. So I don't quite understand, why does Bivol have to fight? So that's a red flag for me. Just there. The fact that Eddie Hearn saying he has to fight Buatsi and Zordo Ramirez. That's a red flag. Now, in terms of the unification fight, if Bivol does want the unification fight with Beterbiev, for me, that should hold priority. And I feel like if there is agreement from both sides, I think Canelo should take a back step there. I don't think Canelo should look for the rematch if those two agree a deal. Yeah? I think Bivol and Beterbiev should have priority if they've agreed a deal. I don't think Canelo should block that. And I think it may be beneficial for Canelo for him allowing that, and then he can fight probably for undisputed. So I think it would make a lot of sense for Canelo to allow that. And I think that's the only fight that I would say that outdoes a Canelo Bivol rematch, and I would be happy for the Canelo to be put to one side until those two fight. What I will say is this doesn't look good, because Eddie Hearn here is saying that Canelo Alvarez and Dmitry Bivol's fight is not next. Now, Is this in line with Canelo? Because Canelo, everything that we've heard from Canelo's mouth, Canelo has said that he wants the Dmitry Bivol rematch. Canelo has said he wants the Dmitry Bivol rematch. So, and we know that if Canelo wants something, he's the man. He's going to have it. So this isn't a good look for Canelo at all, by the way, because what it'll look like is he doesn't want to go back in the rematch, which I don't have a problem with, because he could go back down and then start defending at 168, but that will be a tick on his legacy, because he went up there. He went up there, he won a world title there. Remember, he beat Kovalev, and now he got beat by Bivol, and if he doesn't look to avenge that loss, that'll be 2 losses that he's had that he wasn't, like Mayweather, he was never going to get the opportunity to avenge that, but this he has an opportunity. That wouldn't be a good look for Canelo Alvarez's career if he doesn't go back and look to avenge the loss with Dmitry Bivol, in my opinion. I think it probably hurt his legacy. So it's very important, in my opinion, especially after all of the things that Canelo has said, that he tries to go and avenge that loss against Dmitry Bivol. If he's successful or unsuccessful, it doesn't matter. At least he's tried, you know. But if he doesn't fight Dmitry Bivol again, then effectively can't go back to 175, because effectively he's resigning to the fact that I'm not light heavyweight and I can't compete with those bigger guys. That's what he's effectively saying. If he then goes to 175 and Bivol gets beat by somebody and someone's weaker champion, and then goes and beats him, he's still going to have that mark, well, oh, he lost to Dmitry Bivol. You know, Canelo Alvarez, really, if he wants that fight in May, he should force that fight. You know, no fight takes priority. You can't tell me that Bivol may have to face Buatsi and Zordo Ramirez. These are kind of excuse, like, the only way Eddie Hearn would be saying these things is if Canelo Alvarez is not keen on fighting Dmitry Bivol next. Because if Canelo Alvarez says, no, I'm fighting Dmitry Bivol in May, there's no way Eddie Hearn can stop that. There's no way DAZN would stop that, because they know how big the rematch is. So the only way that this wouldn't happen in May is if Canelo Alvarez don't want it to happen. It's not going to happen because there's people blocking it. The only thing that I think Canelo that I would be exempt. Like if Bivol fights Buatsi in May, that is not an adequate fight for me to stop Canelo fighting Bivol in the rematch. It's just not. If Bivol fights Beterbiev, then fair enough, I have no problem. Canelo steps to one side, maybe takes a fight in between, or he will fight in May regardless, and then he fights the winner. That's what I think should happen. But what Eddie Hearn's trying to do here, unless Eddie's trying to be clever and he's trying to say all of these things without Canelo saying anything, I don't know. But if this is a plan from Canelo's side, this is not a good look, because everybody knows that Canelo Alvarez is the face of boxing. Everybody knows the money that Canelo generates. Everybody knows that when everybody's on lock for Canelo to choose his opponent. So Canelo will decide whether he's fighting Bivol. And Bivol wants the Canelo fight because Bivol will think, I can beat this guy easily and I'm going to get a huge payday for the rematch. Bivol's team, Bivol himself, they would all want the Canelo fight without question. Maybe more so than the Beterbiev fight. They might on top be saying we want Beterbiev, but maybe inside they don't. Maybe they want Canelo more because it's money. Money talks. These are prize fighters. They don't care about all the belts. Yeah, that matters to a point if there isn't any, if the Canelo opportunity isn't there. If the Canelo opportunity is there, you can't tell me Bivol and his team or the people managing Bivol would want not to, because if he loses to Beterbiev, the Canelo fight's gone. If he loses to Beterbiev, that's on Canelo then, for Canelo to say, okay, I want to fight this guy because he beat me. But Canelo might not go there if he gets beat by Beterbiev. So Bivol and his team would be crazy not to want Canelo next. Do you understand? So for me, it makes no sense. It makes no sense for Bivol to not consider Canelo next. So in my personal opinion, I think that the only way this fight doesn't happen in May is if Canelo Alvarez doesn't want it to happen in May. There's no other way this fight is not going to happen. And I don't think it's be a good look for Canelo's career if he doesn't fight Bivol again. Now, it may just be Eddie just saying things, or this could be a plan from Eddie and Canelo. From what I've heard from Canelo, everything I've heard from Canelo in his past interviews, I still personally think that Canelo, from everything I've heard, from what I think of Canelo as a fighter, the competitive nature that Canelo has, I just don't see how Canelo will not take this fight in May. I can't see it. I can't see it, I think Canelo will put a foot down on the gas with Hearn and say, listen, I want that fight in May. I think Eddie's saying this. Maybe he's saying this without consulting with Canelo. If the Beterbiev fight happens, I think Canelo should step to one side, and it'll probably be away, because I think Beterbiev would beat Canelo and Bivol, and then he probably stands a better chance with Beterbiev. Who knows? That maybe that would be a much better fight for him. So what I'm saying is, I think if Canelo wants that fight in May, the fight happens, regardless. And I even think if the Beterbiev fight is on the table for Bivol, unless Bivol really wants that, which I can't see him wanting the Beterbiev fight over the Canelo fight. I just can't see it. Because the Canelo fight is just way more money. It's just way more money, and it's against a guy that he's already beat, who I think he'll beat again comfortably. So why would he look to take the Beterbiev fight in a fight that's probably much tougher for him? A fight that he could get knocked out, he could lose everything, and then he won't get the Canelo payday. It just doesn't make sense. Because remember, Bivol never got paid that much. He got paid $5 million, which is a lot of money. But in the rematch, he's going to get paid way more. Because now, commercially, he's on a different level, Bivol. So it'd make a lot more sense for Bivol to fight Canelo again, then go for a Beterbiev rematch if he can beat... Beterbiev fight if he can beat Canelo. Because then he'll have more bargaining power, he'll be a much bigger star, much bigger name. So the point I'm trying to make is this. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for Bivol as well. Because why would Bivol want to take these fights with... he has no choice to fight Ramirez, but then take a fight with Buatsi straight after Ramirez, because Ramirez is a pretty big fight. Ramirez is probably going to pay him decent money, and it's a fairly big fight. But the Canelo fight is massive, and then he could get Beterbiev. So Bivol is going to be looking for marquee fights now. Buatsi is not a marquee fight. Now, Hearn might be able to pay Bivol well for the Buatsi fight, because they have got that DAZN money, and they might be able to pay well, but what would DAZN want? You think about it. If you're... DAZN would love Ramirez and Bivol, because it's a big fight over there in the US. DAZN would love Canelo and Bivol rematch, because it'd be a huge fight in the US. DAZN would love to have Beterbiev and Bivol, but that's not going to happen on DAZN, because Bob Arum won't allow that. So the point is, there's much bigger options out there. So DAZN might tell Hearn that, listen, we don't want the Buatsi fight. We want. I think Hearn is looking at it from a self point of view. That's why he's saying Zordo, Ramirez, and Buatsi. Zordo Ramirez is a fight he has to have. Zordo Ramirez is a fight because he's mandatory. Buatsi is not mandatory. So where Hearn's bringing Buatsi into this is because he's one of his own fighters, and I think he wants that fight to happen in the UK so he can have a marquee fight in the UK on DAZN, so he can get some subscriptions. That's what Hearn is trying to do. That's what he's trying to do with blocking the Ramirez. Not blocking it, but trying to get an exemption. So my take is that I think Canelo Alvarez, if he wants to fight Dmitry Bivol next, the fight happens next. If Canelo Alvarez doesn't want to fight Dmitry Bivol in May, then the fight won't happen. So this, for me, comes down to Canelo Alvarez. I just don't think it's a good look for Canelo. In my opinion, I don't think it's a good look for Canelo if he doesn't go fight Bivol again. So hopefully we can get this fight between Dmitry Bivol and Canelo in the rematch. And who knows, Canelo might not be happy with these comments, because Canelo, for me, is a warrior. Canelo, for me, is a guy that wants to prove his greatness, wants to prove how great he is. And he's not, and from everything that I've heard, he wants the Dmitry Bivol rematch badly. And a lot of people say, well, if Canelo wanted the rematch, he could have fought Bivol right away. I think that was more pressure from DAZN. I think there was an agreement, there was a contract agreed. And I think Canelo probably thought, okay, let's go with the Gennady Golovkin fight, and then we'll fight Bivol after. Do you see what I mean? Because I think DAZN probably put pressure that, maybe convinced him into saying, no, fight Golovkin. Now, some people will say if he was that hungry to defeat Bivol, he would want that fight right away. But I think he's looking at it from a business point of view as well. I fight Golovkin, but then I'm going to have the Bivol fight. But the thing is, there's a lot that can happen, because Bivol's going to fight after the Canelo fight. Bivol's going to fight again. Yeah, there's a lot that can happen. So Canelo, I don't know. I just think that whenever Canelo wants to fight Bivol, the fight will happen. Because, again, Bivol is going to want that fight. There's no way Bivol wants the Beterbiev fight over the Canelo fight. I just don't believe that, because money-wise, the Canelo fight is much bigger. The Canelo fight is much easier for Bivol. And he's just a much bigger fight from a profile point of view. So it doesn't make any sense for me. Personally, it doesn't make any sense for Bivol not to fight Canelo again. I think if the fight's not going to happen, it's not from Bivol's side, because that's what Eddie Hearn's making it sound like, that Bivol's got this. No. If Canelo wants it, that fight's going to happen, because Canelo, firstly, Bivol's team's going to want it, right? Bivol's going to want it. Canelo's going to want it. And most importantly, DAZN are going to want it, because there's no fight that Bivol can have that is going to do as anywhere near the business that the Canelo Bivol fight is going to do. So they're all going to want it. So the only person that's coming out with this is Eddie Hearn. So I don't quite agree. I think everyone's going to want Canelo to fight Dmitry Bivol again. That's just my opinion. So yeah, I think this fight will happen if Canelo wants it. I think the only way it doesn't happen if Canelo doesn't want it, and Canelo decides. And the fact that this is coming out is a bit worrying, that Canelo might not maybe fancy it. I don't know, because why would Eddie Hearn put this out there? Because like boxing fans like us, hardcore fans, we know that if Canelo Alvarez wants a fight, that fight's going to happen. If Canelo wanted to fight Makabu, that fight happens. If Canelo wants to fight whoever, the fight happens. There's nothing blocking Canelo fighting whoever. Because most importantly, the governing bodies want it. Most importantly, the fighter wants to fight Canelo, right? Because he knows he's going to get a mega payday. So everybody, the team of the other fighter would want it, because they know. So Canelo is the one that's calling all the shots. So if really, you can't tell me a Joshua Buatsi fight is going to be the reason why Canelo can't get the fight in May. You know, there's no mandatory due. He's going to fight his mandatory in October. So he's not going to have another mandatory in May, you know. And let's be honest, the WBA will probably, if Canelo wants it, WBA will probably give Canelo an exemption, because they know how big the fight is. The fight is so much bigger than the Buatsi fight. That's just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but yeah, I don't agree with. I hope Canelo Alvarez fights Dmitry Bivol again for his legacy, because I do think there's going to be a lot of criticism if he does avoid that rematch from a lot of, you know, haters, so to speak. So yeah, leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Love to know your opinion, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.